The biggest thing is the art of unattachment. No matter the situation, if escrows are falling apart, I have to be in the mind that it's going to be okay. And if it falls apart, I'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the handout versus the hand up.
I love that.
There has to be a value proposition. The real estate agent isn't going to become an expert at DSCR or 1099 non-QM loans. Like, you don't need to be good at that. That's the part that I have to be good at.
This episode brought to you by America's favorite military lender, the VA Loan Guy. Jason Wood is an Air Force veteran and mortgage loan officer, always ready to serve veterans and active duty members. Come watch and deep dive about veterans and their stories, their businesses, and most importantly, how they can attain home ownership and continue to prosper. Find out how to be armed and ready.
We got CJU here, one of the top real estate agents in San Diego. And CJ, I'm so happy to have you here today, brother.
Thanks for having me, brother.
I want to just kick this off right now and know, what is your bold prediction for real estate in this market in 2024? We're just the first couple weeks into the year right now. What do you think is going to happen? What is this going to look like this year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be picking up a lot better than 2023, a lot better than 2022. I don't know if it can get as crazy as it was in 2020 and 2021, but I'm excited for it. It's already busy in the first couple weeks of 2024, and I believe it's going to continue to pick up. And it's just going to be a busy season for those that are just going after it and, all gas right now.
What do you see as like the signals that it's going to be a busier year this year?
Yeah, I mean, for January of this year compared to the last couple of years, I've been hit up with a lot of people saying, hey, I want to get back into the market. I'm thinking about selling. I'm thinking about upgrading. And, even with the market slowing down a bit the last couple of years, they're ready to make the move now. And I think they kind of see what's going on with the market. And despite even interest rates where they're at, I think there's a lot of hope for people. And I think that's what's causing them to take some action in 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a better year also.
Yeah.
And I've been busier lately too, which is a blessing, believe me.
Yes.
Because the last year and a half was brutal. It was not fun.
Nope.
It's a tough year. I mean, we survived it, but we didn't like crush it.
Yeah.
Like we all wish and desire, right?
Yeah.
What
are you thinking? What are you predicting for 2024?
I think 2024 is going to be a big year. I think it's going to be a big transactions year. I think there'll be a lot of transactions.
I believe so too.
And what I think we're going to see interest rates continue to march lower, but we're not, I don't want anyone to get like crazy excited. Like we're not going to be seeing like 3.5% this year. Like that's not happening. But I think it will come down. Like if you look back in October, like conventional rates were over 8%. Like that was the peak.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been that high since like the 80s or 90s, right? So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So they've come down. We're in the sixes now, that's a big, big decrease in only 3.5 months, right? As that continues to go down, I think we'll probably be in the 5 to 6 interest rate range at some point this year. And I think once we get below 6, I think then we start seeing sellers, the move up buyer, like actually do it. Yep. Because now the disparity isn't as big for them on a payment, right?
Absolutely.
They've built a ton of equity in the last couple of years, so they can apply that towards the new house to help drive the new payment down. So their 3.5 rate they got today versus, let's say, a 5.5 with a huge down payment, that payment differential may not be very big.
Yeah.
So now it makes sense for them. But 4 months ago, no shot.
No shot. Yeah, a lot of my past clients, even just people I'm talking to that have refinanced and got that below 3% interest rate. They're like, I'm never moving anything, no matter what. And the people that are still selling right now are going through kind of the normal life things. They're going through divorce. They're going through death in the family, or they're having to upsize because they have, more kids now. They need more room and more space.
Yeah.
They're just being more, I think this is the year where, and even last year, you have to be super creative, digging deep with relationships. What are other ways to get ahead of the competition? Who do I need to know that may already have the business before I do? And what I mean is like people that are doing home inspections, mold remediation, plumbers, lenders, and things like that. Just tapping into relationships. I think that's going to be the biggest thing this year, as well as your skills and being able to really lead clients to the next step. Because I think right now they're kind of like, well, should I not? And a lot of agents are Well, they're kind of passive. So I think the leaders that are not aggressive in forcing the hand, but the ones that are giving them the vision and leading them the right way are going to be the separators in 2024, and just even beyond that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think, and I don't know what you guys are hearing like on the realtor side. I know on the lending side, because it got so slow last year with rates climbing that the expectation, and of course rates came down right before the end of the year, which is when we have to renew.
Yeah.
So this may have changed a little, but there was a prediction that there was going to be a drastic drop off in loan officer renewals for their license. And I think there was something similar for real estate agents too, right?
Oh yeah.
So regardless, it's already going to thin out the herd, right? So it will make, obviously the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say that, because one thing I kind of know, but kind of always wondered too, like as a realtor, you know, where are you and where would a realtor, if they want to up their level, like where should they be networking and investing some relationship time? Because it's not about like getting the Zillow lead, right? Like that's junk stuff.
Yeah.
So like where do guys like you who are always on the top of the leaderboards, like where do you spend time just getting to know people, events, things like that? Like what's of value to you?
Yeah. For me, when I first started my career, I thought that the value was just in real estate meetups where I'm meeting other realtors, and not to say they're horrible. And I've met some cool people through it, but majority of the agents that go there, they just want free drinks and they want to hook up, and it's just a party. And I didn't see any benefit to it, to be honest. And so for the last year, I made a commitment to not go to those things, to really dig in my community, help out business owners that I know, and really wanting to dig deeper on that and just creating a bigger network. Even just building relationships with vendor partners like you, Jason, it's helped me to push me to a higher standard. I get poached. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit later, but being at that level now where I'm a higher producer, and, a lot of other vendors will try to earn my business. But what stands out between just working with you, if I can, really stand behind you, is, you really care about taking care of my clients, and that's huge to me. And some lenders just think it as a number. And so what I appreciate from you, Jason, is you really try to build relationships with agent partners like me, really try to think outside the box of value, other things that you give to the table, as well as just a family man. I want to support people that not just crush it in business, but they crush it in life with their family, wife, and things that I look up to. And I'm now in that place in my business where I want to be surrounded by those type of people. And I think it attracts the clients and the type of business partners I work with.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. It's that, the old adage, like, show me the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. And I'll show you what you're going to look like type of thing. I might be getting it wrong, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got to surround yourself with the right types of people.
Yeah. I think we both push each other to get to the next level. You've been in the industry a lot longer than me, but I think what I appreciate about you too is you're coachable. When I give you feedback, hey, this is kind of how I want it to work in the process. You're not like, well, this is my process, blah, blah, blah. You're like, okay, cool. I'll take that to consideration. I learn from you. You learn from me. We chase after big goals together, and we're just starting. Yeah.
Well, you're always evolving too, right? Like always learning. Like I just implemented like my new pre-approval consultation, like this format that I go through, like about a month and a half ago. So I hadn't been doing it for 20 years this way, and all of a sudden changed it because we need to be able to appeal to these buyers a little bit differently, right?
Yep, absolutely.
What I experienced, like basically since like 2020, we started, obviously rates dropped, the pandemic, all that stuff, right? So everyone came out of the woodworks to get a loan, whether they're refinancing or buying a house. So speaking specifically on the the purchasing, is got all these people pre-approved. Well, the market got really competitive. And if you didn't have the extra cash to throw above asking price, your odds were diminished greatly to buy a house. Yeah. It's just how it was. Oh, yeah. And so that pushed a lot of buyers to the sideline. And so those that could did, and they're in, right? But then you had all those people that got pushed to the sideline, like, okay, well, I'll wait till the market changes a little bit and then it's my time. Well, then it did kind of start to slow down in that regard as rates slowly started coming up. And then that scared people because rates started to move. Yeah. They're like, I'm going to wait more. Yeah. And then they waited, and then rates went up quick. And they're like, holy crap. Well, now the market should crash. So I'm going to wait for the market to crash, which didn't happen. Home prices went up more. So you have all these people on the sidelines from way back in 2020, still on the sidelines.
Yeah.
But then every year, more people came.
More people.
And a chunk of them never transacted. They never bought anything. They went through all the effort to get pre-approved, right?
Yep.
Didn't do anything. So what I've put in there in my consultation now is some actual like data, and it's not derived from my brain. Like it's data pulled from like real sources, that we can show people like, and not to force anybody to do anything, but to show them like, here's the missed opportunity, right? Like if you're going to move forward and you're capable of owning a home, and then you decide, well, the timing isn't right, or the market's going to change the way I predict, or whatever. The statistics don't support that. And so what ends up happening, like if I look at these people from like 2020, or even just from like last summer, who just decided, nah, it's not right for whatever reason, prices or rates or whatever, like the amount that it has cost them is big dollars.
Yeah.
Big dollar. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
And that's what people, so I implemented this into my process to be able to show people like, I'm not trying to twist your arm. I'm just going to equip you with as much information as I can.
Absolutely.
So that if you're like, hey, the sideline is for me, there's no harm, no foul in that. But just understand the position that puts you in if you come off the sideline in a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right. And where you could have been versus where you are.
Yeah. And I think that's what separates, right, the elite lenders, the elite realtors, the elite business owners, is they adapt to what's going on. They're always willing to continue to get better, no matter what's happening in the market, and they get creative, and they are leading and creating that vision. Like my coach talked to me about, hey, as a leader, what separates the leaders versus the rest is you create that vision to lead them into making a decision, whether it's, hey, are you going to buy now or sell now, or are you completely out? And when you can lead the way and you can guide them, and you can do it quicker, and that just helps you not waste time with those that aren't committed to the process, and you're trying to like pull them up when they're not even ready to do it, versus spending all your time working with the ones that are ready to make the move. And I think that's been a big shift in my business, where I would be so happy, okay, cool, someone wants to buy or sell, and I fine-tune the motivation. There's tons of people that don't want to move forward, and before I would hold on to that so tight and spend so much time trying to, make it happen, make them want it more than they even wanted it.
Right.
And that never works out. And so what I'm focusing on is just being quicker to figure out, hey, what is your game plan? What is your long-term goals? Let's paint the big picture. We go through the consultation together, and let's work backwards, and let's make things happen now. If you're not comfortable doing that now, it's totally fine. I'll talk to you in a few months, and I move on to the next one. And so that's helped me to not be unattached from it, feeling like I had to work that lead till they, till they get the house, and it just never works out.
Constricted everything out of them, right?
Exactly. And it just, it's like not attractive. I want to be, I think in my business, I want to be whether it's vendor partners like you or clients that want to buy or sell, I want to just keep attracting those type of clients. And then the rest, they kind of just weed themselves out on their own now to this point. So it's been good. I'm excited. 2023, I don't even blame the market on my production. I blame it just on me getting kind of sidetracked with, and I would give that as a tip to anyone in business, is build up one business and build it up so well that you don't even think about it. And I tried to, as I was trying to build up my real estate business, I tried to add on to this investing program, this AI training program, and I just need to stick back to my basics of building relationships with people and asking for more connections and just continuing to build that. Being from San Diego, born and raised, there's no other reason I shouldn't just tap into that.
100%. Yeah. You got the whole market at your fingertips, really.
Oh, yeah.
Literally on your phone, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to like pick your brain about was, so like kind of like your office and like office environment, right? Mm-hmm. So as I look, as a lender, I get to experience working with realtors, lots of them.
Yeah.
Like, and I lend in a lot of states, so like all over the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different like dynamics in our office, right? Like any company would have in their offices, right? But what strikes me as interesting about your guys's group in your office and what you guys are doing is there is a push for doing better.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something about it, right? When I talk to other like brokers and things in their offices and stuff, and it's just kind of like, whoever wants to come hang a license, and we'll have a barbecue in July, and good job.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I guess without like, you don't have to go into like super deep, but kind of tell me like, what is it about like your guys' firm that like creates like that vigor?
Yeah. I think Xandra Ijoa, my team lead, I've been with her since 2020, has really created an environment to really be able to build your own business, but not with the sacrificing and just, tearing other people down. And, in the industry we're in, it's a dog-eat-dog world. And I think I've been surrounded with a team that it can be a healthy competition. We push each other to go after it and be respectful and be professional, versus some, they're just trying to hold everything captive and not really share things. We love to share things that we learn through the process. We're competing against, we have buyers that are going after the same properties within the team to purchase. Of course, someone wants to win it, but at the end of the day, she's created a culture where it's a family environment. We cheer each other on. If we end up losing the offer and they win it, we're still happy for them. And even if we both lose it and someone else wins it, we always try to learn and grow through it. And that's what I love about the team. And Xandra's been able to pour into me and not just, I don't see myself as a realtor. I see myself as a business owner that gets to sell houses. And so that's been a big game changer to me. Identity shift.
That's important. Like, I hope people heard that, right? Like, you're a business owner that gets to sell real estate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The psychology of some of this stuff is the most crucial piece.
Yeah. And so everything that I'm learning as a business owner in real estate can be applied in other things. And so I'm kind of learning as I'm growing, where I try to do too many businesses. You know that. And when I was trying to do a laundromat or something like that, and they all kind of fell apart and it just threw me off. And going back to my production, but I want to help other business owners, like plumbers, like lenders, like people that in the industry, help them build up a better structure so that if their business gets stronger, I may be top of mind as the agent that has helped them get there. And so that's what I want to continue to do in 2024, is not just be the agent that says, hey, give me referrals. Hey, I'll send some referrals your way and blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, okay, do you have a system in place to grow your business? If not, how can we grow together? How can I help you just create a system so that you can get more clients? Whether I help that client buy or sell, I'm still helping this person. And I believe, with God, in our faith, that just giving back and giving more than I receive, it's going to come back tenfold.
So it'll giver's gain
Yeah.
mentality, right?
Yeah.
And I think there was a big aha moment for me in my business many years ago with kind of like the abundance attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, for years and years and years, think like, oh no, like everybody's in competition with me.
Yeah.
I'm keeping all my little secret tactics and tricks close to the vest. I'm not sharing it with anybody because I don't want someone to copy it.
Yep.
Heaven forbid they get a loan because they use something that I do that could have been my loan.
Yep.
Well, no, dummy. Like it wasn't going to be my loan. It was their cousin in Nebraska who I never had a contact with. Like, who cares if they used your tactic, right? But like getting to the point where like you have that abundance mentality.
Yep. Huge.
The giver's gain thing, it becomes more practical, right? Like you can actually apply it. Love
that giver's gain. Never heard of it like that. I guess that's a great way to sum it up.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of my experience with it. Now, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but as a team within the team, like you're building your own team right now, right?
Yeah.
So you have a business, you get to sell real estate. Now you're mentoring and growing others, right? So what's that like? Like, what is that? Just anybody in the office can go do that? Or is it like, hey, select few who are kind of capable are able to do it? Like, how does it work, and how is it working in your business?
Yeah, I think it's definitely anyone has the capability to do it for sure. But I think with Xandra, it's really like who wants to do that. I guess, like, I would say, yeah, they're capable to do it, but not everyone's doing it. Some people don't even want to run a team. I actually didn't see myself running a team. It kind of just fell in my lap. And I don't know if that's just the leader in me from, leading at my church or leading in other aspects of work. It just kind of naturally happened. And yesterday's coaching call with one of my coaches, shout out to David Kesey. He's helped me to really see it as, no, yeah, you can continue to produce really good. You just have to set the standard with your team and own it. Own that I am a team lead. Because I was kind of wavering back and forth of, I just want to be a solo agent, kind of just crush it like that, or just I have to just be a team lead and I can't even produce at all and just have to, wait for my team to close on things. But no, he said you can own it and crush it and set the right expectations with your team. And I mean, it's grown to about 4 people right now. I don't know how big it's going to get. I don't think I want to grow it too big. I like it lean and mean. Yeah. And that's where I'm at right now with
That's cool. So you're teaching them like from no knowledge to how to do it, how to do the whole thing, right?
Yeah. So basically how it's structured right now is I'm behind their success from contract training, kind of as soon as they onboard, I'm going to train them from the ground up, contracts, things like that. The nice thing is a team within a team, I'm able to be supported still with Xandra and her resources, client appreciation events, trainings that are part of her university. My team is able to tap into that still, which is super generous of Z to offer that. It's just, hey, if they have any questions, they're going directly to me. They're not going to Xandra. They go to me, and I help them through the process if they have any questions. And if I still have questions and I'm still learning, this is my 4th year going full time. So I'm not saying I know everything, but I know where to find the answer. And I'm always going to continue to be coachable for the rest of my career.
Yeah. Well, speaking of coaching, just for a minute.
Yeah.
So you're in coaching. I'm in coaching.
Yeah.
Who's your coach?
Yeah, his name's David Kesey.
Okay.
Up in Los Angeles.
All right. So what's interesting that I find with like top producers, really not just in our industry, but in any industry, is they have a coach. Someone is there keeping them accountable.
Yeah.
Right. And giving them some tactics and some tips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's a good like tactic or a good tip that you've learned in your coaching so far that like you're like, that's just one of the things like just totally sticks with me. Like I always use it. Like, is there something that you've learned that you're like, yep, I totally implemented that. I love it. I do it all the time. Like, yeah, rock solid.
The biggest thing is the art of unattachment. Okay. And so what I mean is being, no matter the situation, if escrows are falling apart, I have to be in the mind that it's going to be okay. And if it falls apart, I'll be okay. And, and that's helped me to not have to chase after clients. My coach has taught me that we as business owners are the prize and not actually the client. And I've actually thought the opposite. I thought the client was so the prize that I had to like win him over. I had to be different versus let me just be me and attract who's supposed to work with me and enjoy that ride. So that's been super helpful. How about for you with core coaching? What has been kind of the standout for you? Why did you decide to choose that specific coaching program, and what are you learning from there?
Man, I've learned so much. I've been a student there for 5 years. What made me go there, interestingly enough, so back in 2012 or 2013, somewhere in there, I was working at a different mortgage company, and my manager was a student. And he had his whole business built, the core model and all that stuff, and they have this like 1-day event they do in August, and he was like, hey, you should come to this with me. And I'm like, like I was doing really good. Like I was doing a little bit better numbers than he was, and he was paying for all this coaching, and I had an ego, right? And I'm like, what do I need this coaching for? He's like, dude, I'll pay for it. I'm like, oh, well, you're paying for it. I'll go. Let's go. So anyways, I go to Dallas and go to it. And one of the keynote speakers at the event, which are all students and or coaches in the program, right, was a gal that I worked with back in Reno a long, long time ago, early in my mortgage career. And her name is Shayla Gifford, if she were to hear this. So she was one of the speakers. And so I listened to her talk, and I didn't realize the level of success she had because I had moved away from Reno, and I wasn't really paying attention to all that. And I wasn't in their training program yet. Anyways, this gal from, Reno, when I left Reno, like the average loan amount was like $150,000. Like when I came to San Diego, my first loan was $400,000. I about fell over. I was like, oh my God, it's huge. So she had huge success. I mean, she's making $5 million a year or more.
Wow.
And with loan amounts at 150,000, I'm like,
that's a lot of homes.
That's a lot of loan. That's a lot,
loans,
right?
yeah.
And she gave her testimony, her speech of it was amazing. And then, I ran into her in the break and got to talk with her and stuff like that. So that was my first exposure really to that training program, but I didn't pursue it then. I wish I had now in hindsight, right? Hindsight's perfect vision.
Yeah.
But I didn't pursue it at the time because at the time I'm like, oh, well, my manager's paying all this money every month.
Yeah.
My numbers are beating his numbers, so I don't need it.
Yeah.
So fast forward, and about 5 years ago, I was working with a realtor here who was on the realtor side in their coaching. And he had been talking to me about it off and on for a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And he goes, dude, if you put as much emphasis into coaching as you do at the freaking gym, you'll be a monster in the mortgage business. And I was like, okay, there might be something to that, right?
Yeah.
And so one day randomly we're meeting for coffee and I forget, I must have asked a question and he was like, let me call my concierge over at the core and let me ask him real quick. So he called him up and I was like, yeah, I got this question, whatever. I'm sitting here with, my lender, Jason, and he goes, oh, and by the way, Jason wants to get signed up for coaching. He's like, oh, really? Yeah, here you go. And just hands me the phone. So that's how it got started.
Wow.
But I think as far as like, there's so much that you learn that I've learned in that coaching. But I think a couple of the things that have really, really stuck with me. Number one is the daily effort. So we have this sheet, we call it the greatness tracker. So you literally are tracking every day how many people you talk to, how many thank you cards you send out, how many video or in-person meetings you've had, like did you get any deals pre-approved today, any deals submitted today, like, so it's a daily tracking sheet and we track it for a week at a time.
Wow.
And
I think I need that.
it's like, I have a realtor one, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to use it.
Appreciate
So
that.
it's
Value right there.
There you go. But it's that accountability. So I don't necessarily need so much the coach pushing me because I've been in it long enough to where, like, if I leave work one day and I had like just a crappy day on my greatness tracker, I won't sleep well that night. Like it bothers me that I didn't complete it. I didn't do a good enough job. Right. So now it's ingrained in me to be at that level of effort on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And
you raise the bar for yourself.
Yeah. And you kind of realize like what you're capable of, because as you go through the program, like those requirements grow a little bit. Right. I remember when I first got in at the entry level of their coaching, you had to make like in a week, you'd have 25 talk tos about business.
Wow.
Not just like an update on the loan, like, hey, your appraisal's in, like that doesn't count. So it's about business. And for the longest time, that was a struggle. And then it became 40 and then it was 50 and then it was 60 and then it was 70, so like,
wow.
But then once you have like an 80 or 100 week, you're like, oh, well, yeah, I could do 70. That's totally doable. Yeah. Now that you've done it and you figured out, okay, here's how it works in my day and my time and how long it takes me and all that stuff.
That's good. That's good.
Then it starts. So I would say that's one of the main things is that really that self accountability, right?
Yeah.
And I would say the other thing is really, and you mentioned it, is really trying to find like value to add to my real estate partners, and kind of coupled with that is relationship, right?
Yep.
So it's not so much like I need to go work with 200 realtors and get like one loan every other year from them. What I really need to do is find a smaller, tight-knit group of those who produce well and we click and we can build that relationship with and go deeper and grow together, right? And really provide that value. And then just communicating, right? Like everyone's texting all the time now. Like, and there's a place for that.
Yes. Yeah.
But there is something kind of lost, I feel like, in our society today with like the good old phone.
I agree.
Just get on the phone and have a conversation, right? Like, you can actually save time a lot of times by talking versus typing, but then you can also depict like tone and everything else better,
correct,
in that conversation than you can via a text or a DM or whatever it might be. Like the text and the DM is cool.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just pulling up to just finding a parking spot, being
Yeah.
in 5 minutes. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't need a phone call for
No,
that.
yeah.
But it's like, hey, can you explain to me how mortgage-backed securities work and why the 10-year treasury is a benchmark for, mortgage interest rates? That's not a text conversation. I'm sorry. There's a lot to that.
Yeah.
That's a get on the phone thing, right?
Yeah.
So
That's good.
I think just, those are like some of the main things that I really gleaned from that. But it completely changed my business.
That's awesome. For me, it's my coach tells me like, "Hey, are you actually calling your clients?" And for me, I was like, I'm texting them." And he's like, "No, you got to get on the calls." And so I think for me, it's pushing me to and realize, I think it's partly of realizing you think you're being more productive when you text more people rapidly at the same time, and you think, "Oh, I don't need to do the calls. I'll just do 100 texts," versus maybe the same time it would take for 10 phone calls. But the effectiveness, right? It's being productive versus busy. And so I think what you're saying is like getting on the phone call, and I appreciate that from you. You giving me calls. I'm like, "Oh, Jason, that I appreciate that." And so I think the same thing for our clients is it'll save a lot of time versus having to text one conversation that could have took 5 minutes. It's a 2-hour text throughout the day, and it's distracting you from being really effective with other things. So it's a great reminder.
Well, the other thing is relation, right? Like it's hard to develop relationship through a text.
Correct.
Especially and I've had those texts where like the conversation goes throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
And they're like small little chunks, but it takes the entire day. And you could have a 5-minute phone conversation, knocked it out, but you would have had a better opportunity for building rapport with a client, building relationship with, a business partner.
That's good.
In that short span rather than the text, because the text, I mean, even though you can do an emoji and like you can do a thumbs up or a smiley or whatever, and like that's kind of emotion, sort of.
Yeah.
It's not truly like emotion, right?
Yeah.
Can't all the way tell you're happy. Are you being sarcastic with that smiley? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know for sure? But if you got someone on the phone and you can hear the inflection in their voice,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah. Well, I'm, as great as we talk about, getting clients, getting leads, it's just funny because I literally fired a client today. And it was through just being able to get on a phone call with him and really read him, like how serious he was. And the reason I say it's fire is because just I'm in a place now where if they don't see the value in me as I see the value in them, I don't think it's worth my time, and I'm not the realtor for them. They're asking for my commission. They're asking for this, and I'm going to give them this, but they're not willing to work with me exclusively. So I'm having to chase him, and I'm not in that space to, give up all my money, give up all my time just to work with you, and I'm probably not even going to build a relationship with you. And so I wouldn't have been able to determine that unless I had a phone call. And so there's that good side of being able to build a relationship with someone, which I love doing anyways, is building a relationship, having client appreciation events, and wanting to, help them close on a house or sell a house, but be able to have coffee with them and lunch with them and spend time with them outside the transaction. And then on the other side, it's not always pretty. And there's times where I have to kind of set the tone too of, hey, you're not going to walk all over me. And I have to set the standard for myself too, and the value, and that's where I want to be.
Yeah, totally, man. What do you think? Like typically, like if you look back in like real estate, and you see a market like we just were in, right, where interest rates went higher. Typically, when you see interest rates go higher, or at least the expectation would be, home prices are going to come down.
Yep.
We didn't experience that.
Nope.
Why didn't we experience lower home prices over the last year with 25-year interest rate highs?
There is barely any homes for people to buy right now.
Aha.
And especially in the highly desirable areas. You see inventory shortage on, places with great school districts. You're starting to see more people willing to sell and get out of neighborhoods, which increases inventory for other places. And, when the whole shift happened in 2022, you saw areas where it kept its value, and you saw the areas that they did have a dip, but not completely year to year, but from like the beginning of the year to the end of the year, that was a pretty big dip in difference. And so that's really why prices continued. I think it was like 4.2% equity increase in average for San Diego.
Yeah.
Around that.
Yeah. Home values went up.
Yeah. With 8.25.
And I mean, so, with interest rates now coming on down the backside of that hill, what does it look like for home values this year if rates continue to come down, and next year too, I guess? But
yeah,
what does that do for home values?
I think it's because we still have, especially because we still have low inventory. I mean, typically, right, when interest rates go down, prices go up. And now we have the combination of those two plus inventory shortage. It's going to go up for sure.
Yeah.
And the restrictions on loans are, a lot better. People have more money. And, I've talked to one client that keeps saying, hey, there is going to be some job losses coming up. And I think there's going to be a market crash.
There are people in that camp. I don't disagree with the job loss piece.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are, we've already seen like in the tech world, there's been some big job layoffs. In the mortgage space, for sure, there's been, I think, like 2 million layoffs over the last year.
Wow.
So there's definitely been job losses, but none of that sparked a housing price crash, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the, I agree with you.
Difference.
There's a supply and demand. Boiling down economics to its most basic, right? Supply and demand.
Yep.
And there's just more demand than there is supply.
Absolutely.
So you can't fix home prices. Like home prices can't stop rising or come down unless there is a flood of new supply.
New supply. Yeah.
And where would we get new supply, right? Like anybody who, as rates come down, and we talked about earlier, like anyone who's going to be like a move up buyer or a move out of town buyer or whatever, they're going to go live somewhere, right? They're not going to sell their house and go live in a tent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so they're going to go buy, whether they're downsizing, buy that condo to retire in, or the family's growing and they got to get the bigger house, or they're relocating, like whatever it is, they're going to go live somewhere.
Yeah.
So just because they sell a house here doesn't mean they're not buying something over there.
Correct. Yeah.
So that didn't fix the supply problem.
No. Yeah.
It increased the number of transactions.
Yep.
Which I totally think is going to happen. There'll be more transactions like that.
Yep.
But there's not going to be more supply.
Absolutely. Yeah. Builders are behind right now. I've helped a lot of throughout Riverside County down to San Diego with new builds, and they're slow in building, and they're being swamped. As soon as the home gets available, it's gone like that. It gets locked up. It's not sitting long on the market.
Yeah.
And again, supply and demand all day. And for reference, I service like Mira Mesa, Rancho Penasquitos. It wasn't my specific listing, but in Mira Mesa, there was 400 parties in the first weekend, and it was she advertised it way below market value. But that also reels out who's interested. So it's, even though she priced it really low, it just shows that there are these people that are, oh wow, there's this great deal right now. So 400 parties went through the open house, 13 offers on it, 200 above asking just 2 weeks ago, or like a week and a half ago.
Wow.
In January of 2024.
Wow.
So these 400, and maybe some are looky-loos, but those are all the people stacked up year to year that are looking in that area that aren't finding things, and so it's showing that there is demand, and they're kind of waiting, and they thought they can get a good deal, and now there's 13 offers, and they're not just coming out of nowhere and spending their time just looking at open house. They're interested.
Yeah, which goes back to like kind of this conversation of pent up demand, right? And
yep.
And it's for like the general public, they're like, yeah, you guys are just blowing smoke because you're in the business and you want deals. Yeah. But like, if I just look at my personal like pipeline of people who I've pre-approved in the last, let's say 3 years, compared to who actually went and bought, like there's so many that didn't. And I talk to them, I stay in pretty decent touch with them.
Yeah.
I will win. I will win this.
Yeah.
And so if I have that much pent up demand just from my own past life, imagine that times 10,000 lenders or whatever across the country, like, and the people that never even took the step yet to be there is so much pent up demand.
Correct.
Plus what would naturally enter the market just because of a household formation.
Yep.
I think 2024 is going to be eerily similar to like 2021, where houses for sale in, they don't even get to the open house. They got 5 offers.
Yeah.
Then maybe they have the open house, and now they got 15 offers.
Yeah.
And 9 of them are over asking price.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have cash, you're out.
Yeah.
And now they're dealing with the 9 and it's highest and best. And are you going to waive this and waive that and waive your life away and just buy a house that barely stands? Sure, because you want a house.
Yeah.
And so I think we're headed right back for that.
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, you and I are working on a client right now that he understands the market. Him and his wife hey, we got to take advantage now. I showed him an off-market property in Mira Mesa. It was off-market, but that investor has some relationships. They had 4 offers on it before it even hit the market, before he was even done.
That's insane.
And it was a $1.3 million single-family house in Mira Mesa. So imagine if it went to market. And so he sees it. So I would encourage people that are thinking about being on the fence, yes, go to an open house, but also find a realtor that is in it full time, because there's a majority of people that are part time. They don't even see the market. They don't even believe in the market. You have to see people that are actually investing in real estate. I'm investing. I'm looking at what I want to do next and my moves. And so be around those type of people and learn from them and grow from them. Lean on you as a lender of the information. And there's just all this news. There's people on TikTok that think they know everything. There's people on YouTube or whatever, but really do your due diligence. Go out there and I'm happy to show homes. I'm happy to show you what's actually going on in the market versus what people are just saying about it.
Yeah.
Or scaring you, right? There's people that can just scare you and deter you from your plans of like, don't buy it because of crash. Oh, people are losing their jobs and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, people are losing their job, but people are still keeping their houses. People have a lot of equity in their homes. It's not going to crash, and we don't have the demand, and loans are a lot harder to get than ever.
Yeah.
And so you got better qualified people. And I think the stat was like 70% of buyers right now are using jumbo loans because they have money. So if you have money and people are buying houses cash, it's just, what are you listening to? What are you finding tune? At the end of the day, I would suggest to buyers and sellers right now, what's best for you and your family, tune out the noise, and go after your goals.
That's great advice. You can't, and Warren Buffett said it best, nobody can time a market.
Nope.
So I don't care how much analytics and how much you're on social media and everything else.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to time the bottom of the real estate market.
Nope.
And I assure you, the bottom isn't in 2024.
Nope.
It's not going to be this year.
Nope.
Probably not going to be 2025. So, and will it crash one day? Perhaps. I mean, markets go up and down, right? It's not going to go up forever.
No,
so,
it can't.
Yeah. Will it dip at some point? Of course it will dip. Will it crash? I think those are two very different things.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think we'll see a crash. I mean, the crash that we had in 2008 was such an unprecedented thing, and it was sparked by the lending. That's what created that ultimately, right? And all that's been tightened up.
Yeah.
So how do you forecast another crash? Like, what kind of, like, legitimately, like, home prices go down 50%, like some crazy amount like they did then, right?
Yeah.
Could there be a dip a few percent in a year?
Yeah,
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, there could be economic events. We could get into World War III. That could send things going a little nuts, but it's not going to crash the market.
Yeah.
Because back to our earlier conversation, there's still not enough homes available for all the buyers who want to buy them. That's the supply and demand side. So even all that stuff, there's still that supply and demand component.
Absolutely. Love that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So, all right. So, last thing here I wanted to ask you about. So you're a top agent, and I know your phone rings sometimes. You think, oh, this might be a new client calling me. I better grab this phone call.
Yep.
And it's like, John, the loan officer from like Bucky's Mortgage Shop, and I'm calling you because I've got awesome rates, man, and great service. Like,
Bucky's like in the Midwest, like Tennessee, the pit stop.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe he's an Ohio guy. I don't know. Maybe he's from Ohio. Maybe he's a Buckeye. You know. But I'm sure, like, you probably get these calls often.
Yep.
Right.
A couple times a week.
And I'm sure it's not just mortgage guys. It's probably title reps and escrow reps and, all these people that are trying to, connect with you to work with you and do business with you. And they should, right? I mean, who would not want to? But I don't know. Put us in your shoes. Like, it's just an average Tuesday. You're out showing houses, or you're driving, or working on a contract or whatever, and your phone rings. Like, walk us through, like, I don't know, what's it like being the realtor when this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. It's a nice feeling to kind of be wanted, and want to be earned on the business side of things. Again, for me, I'm just looking outside of, hey, let's just go get coffee and then give me deals. Like, I literally met with this lender that that's just like kind of just full of himself. recently, and hey, I can close on this day, blah, blah, I got this client here. I'm like, okay, cool. So what do you have to offer me? And, you want to earn my business, but, and when I say offer, it's not always just, hey, give me a referral or things like that. It's really like, hey, how do we grow together? How do we, just like for you, right? You came to me, and what I appreciate from you, it's like, hey, how do we earn business together versus like, how do I just take business from you? And that's a lot of people that say, hey, cool, this is what if you need anything, just hit me up. I'm like, okay, like that you don't bring value, and not in a bad way, but you don't bring value to me. And I'm not trying to be selfish, but I'm now in a space where I'm thinking long term. Just like I want to build relationships with my clients, I want to be around awesome people with vendors that I work with that I get to enjoy. It's not just transactional, or all they care about is just numbers. I'm just another number to them. I want to be valued. I also want to value them. And so if I can feel like I can value that person, they can value me, it's a win-win. For the rest, I'll see you around. I'll be nice to you. I'll be cordial. I won't be like a douchebag on it and be mean and be
Yeah.
like, don't talk to me ever. I say, hey, I respect it. I appreciate it right now. I appreciate it, but I just can't handle this right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the hand out versus the hand up, right?
I love that.
So
Love that.
and I mean, that's something that I picked up like through my coaching, right? Is there has to be a value proposition.
Absolutely.
No one cares about your programs, right? Because the real estate agent isn't going to become an expert at DSCR or 1099 non-QM loans. Like, you don't need to be good at that. That's the part that I have to be good at, right? So where's the value, right? The value isn't in I can close quick, or I have a cool program, or I have great rates. Like, you got to have all that just to be a mortgage lender, right? Those are the things you got to have, right? It's like being a contractor. Well, you got to have a hammer, a saw, and a drill. Like, without that stuff, you're not really building a whole lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like, those are kind of the basics. So if you're like, hey, I got the basics, high five, good for you. You're on your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, like, where's your value proposition? What can you do to add value? Because it really has become so much of a put my hand out, take.
Yep.
And what that has done is it's created a dynamic where now there isn't value, right? Like I've ran into real estate agents by the droves where the lender is valueless. You are a cog in the way of my commission at the end. I need you to get the loan done. Don't screw it up. Don't bug me. Just make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no value
Yeah.
there. And that's not necessarily the realtor's fault. That's the mortgage industry's fault because they never brought value to begin with. So now they change the dynamic in the thought process of how they're viewed.
Yeah. I think on both ends, it's continuing to adapt, right? Of, hey, lenders were offering this or offering that. It's, how do we just continue to think out creatively outside the box? Like, we have masterminds, you and I, on a monthly basis. Hey, what are we learning? What are you learning? What am I learning? How can we get better at it? What do we need to adapt in our business? What should we move forward with? And it's been great.
Yeah, man. What else can we share with the audience about real estate, this market this year? I think right now we're in January of 2024.
Yep.
I think we're in a lull. I think right now, as a buyer, I think now is the time to strike.
Yep.
And the reason I say that,
I agree.
The reason I say that is rates have come down, but we haven't seen the frenzy of buyers.
No.
But I think that's only because like the mass media hasn't really caught up with it. They're always kind of behind the curve anyways.
Absolutely.
But I kind of think like once cat is out of the bag and everybody hears, oh my gosh, rates aren't at 8.5% anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to run and go buy. So I think this is kind of like the calm before the storm.
I agree. It's starting to pick up. And again, to back up what I was saying earlier, there are these one-offs. There are some other properties that I'm seeing that's sitting on the market 30, 270 days. It all just depends how the agent prices it, things like that, how motivated the sellers are, how motivated the buyers are, location. But if anything, if you are thinking about buying in 2024, you should strike now before it gets crazy busy. And if you're thinking about selling and buying at the same time, now's the time to game plan, come up with a strategy, talk to both of us, and really get a game plan in place to be ahead of it versus react later and be potentially behind and not know where to go and be more stressed out. Our job, you and I, is to make it as stress-free as possible, let you win in this market, and get ahead of the game.
100%, man. You got to build that strategy.
Yep, absolutely.
You got to get with the professionals and work on a strategy. Don't treat it like you're buying a flat screen at Best Buy.
Nope.
Like it is a bigger deal.
It's simple, but there's a lot of moving steps, and it does move fast, but it also there's a lot of things you have to prepare for, whether you're on the buy side, sales side, or both. You definitely have to talk to professionals that can help guide you so that you can hit your goals on the timeline you want, or potentially even sooner than you think. And we're here to help.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thanks for being on, man. We're going to have you on again.
Yes, let's do it.
But thanks, brother. Appreciate your partnership and being on today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, man.
Let's go.
Thanks so much for checking out this week's episode. Please subscribe, click the link below, share with your friends. And hey, if you know a military person or a veteran with a great story to share, we would love to highlight them on the podcast and get their story out to everybody. Thanks so much.